Hi everyone. 2 December is the day for the abolition of slavery, and we are so honoured today to have Professor Jennifer Byrne with us from UTS, but also Anti-Slavery Australia. If there's one person in Australia who has led the call to manage the risk of modern slavery in people's businesses and in Australia generally, it's Jennifer Byrne. So first of all, Jen, thank you so much for being with us. We really, really appreciate you joining for this conversation. I thought that perhaps what we should start with is just an understanding of what it is that Anti-Slavery Australia does.
Thanks, Abby. I'd like to, before I do that, just say to you and to everybody that, of course, Abigail McGregor is recognised throughout Australia in the business and human rights community and held in incredibly high regard. She is an expert and recognised as such. So thank you for your very generous introduction, Abby. Well, we are a legal and a research centre at UTS in Sydney. We provide legal advice, free legal advice to people who have experienced modern slavery in Australia, and we're helping over 400 people right now. We also do research and policy development, and we've been able to shape the Australian response to modern slavery. And a lot of the work that we have done has been with Norton Rose Fulbright.
We've been really proud to partner with Anti-Slavery Australia over, I think, the many years now. So there'll be some people who are listening today who've been secondees at Anti-Slavery Australia. We've worked with policy type assistance in the background, working on position papers, and also just providing general assistance when it's needed. And we hope to keep on doing that because when you think about it from the very comfortable offices that we all sit in, the fact that there are estimated right now to be 15,000 or probably more slaves in Australia, it's just not something that we can, as individuals, but also as a business, just ignore. So, Jen, we certainly hope we can keep on working with you on that with our pro bono practice. Sorry, Jen.
We've actually been partnering for over 6 years.
There you go, 6.
So, yeah, and so for secondees who may be listening, they've worked on incredible projects, research projects on online exploitation of children, on dowry abuse, on compensation, and of course, worked in the legal practice. So they've made an incredible difference to the work that we do.
When you talk about the 400 people that you have right now, Jen, and historically Anti-Slavery Australia has assisted, can you reflect for us what it is that modern slavery looks like in Australia? I know the Joint Parliamentary report that recommended a Modern Slavery Act in Australia was called Hidden in Plain Sight. What's your experience of modern slavery in Australia?
I have worked with people who have been enslaved since 2003, and I can say that everybody that I've worked with has been, in fact, hidden in plain sight in sexual exploitation, in commercial hospitality, in farms, in domestic servitude, or exploited in embassies. The pattern of slavery in Australia is diverse, and people are exploited in multiple sectors, in multiple industries, and in many different contexts. But in every single case of modern slavery, there is something at its core, which is a fundamental breach of human rights. And we should all have human rights and be able to live our lives in dignity. And slavery is the absolute opposite of that. So, I can speak about people who have been imprisoned in a private home for over 8 years, not being able to leave that home, but required to work as a slave for a period of around 8 years. I can speak of visa holders working in commercial kitchens in Sydney, people in agriculture, people in the sex industry. the areas are unlimited, and the forms of exploitation within the context of modern slavery are also unlimited. And as we start to learn more about the slavery provisions in the Commonwealth Criminal Code, I believe that slavery in unexpected contexts will be identified. And we've seen some examples of that recently in convictions within the courts. And I'm thinking particularly about domestic servitude or domestic slavery convictions.
Yeah, it's something that we all need to become more aware of. What are the red flags so that we can be conscious of when things might be right in front of us, but we've not noticed them to date. Modern slavery is obviously something that, for me, comes up every day in my professional life. We've advised hundreds of clients about how to identify risk, why to manage risk, how to manage risk. But I want to talk today to the people who are listening to this blog, if that's what we call ourselves here, in relation to why it should matter to them and what they can do as individuals to make a difference.
Look, Abby, I think that's a really great question. And many of us just don't know that slavery happens in Australia. So we surveyed the Sydney community earlier this year and found that 66% of people were unaware that modern slavery happened right here in Sydney. But it happens all around Australia, and as you said at the beginning, all over the world. The first thing to do, I think, is to learn more about what modern slavery is, and there are a lot of resources available. And looking at our website is a great resource. But I think, sometimes starting small is a good first step, and we can all start to think about how we can make ethical choices in our life. Think about the things that we buy and perhaps consider whether those products might have been made with forced labour, to use some of the apps that are available that guide us on ethical purchasing and so on. The starting small is good. Talking with people, raising awareness, volunteering with an organisation or with the Norton Rose Fulbright pro bono team. These are all wonderful initiatives.
I often get asked, do you really think it makes a difference? And I genuinely do.
Oh,
I think that the way that businesses like ours, but also individuals can respond to this definitely drives change. And the more times we ask the questions of our suppliers, the more they'll become conscious of the issues that arise and work out how to deal with them. So we as a firm have a modern slavery policy and plan, and we have a human rights policy, and it deals with how we manage our risks for our operations, for our suppliers, but also how we educate and try to work with our clients, because that's a critical way that we can use our leverage to encourage business around Australia and globally to respect human rights. These policies that we have, we don't just pay lip service to them. People have to consider this risk as part of their purchasing decisions. I wish that the 2nd of December was a celebration of the end of slavery, instead of being a day of a call to arms to try to conquer slavery. And I'm not sure if we'll get there in our lifetime, Jen.
I think we will. I'd just like to just contribute briefly to the making a difference.
Please.
Conversation, and through our law practice, and as you've heard, we offer the practice supported by secondees from Norton Rose Fulbright. So we can say, through law, we can promote access to justice for the most vulnerable group in our society. We can see through the legal work that we do that people can rebuild their lives. We can help them obtain compensation. We can find security and safety for people who would otherwise not be safe or secure. We can do incredible things through legal frameworks, and that's what we do through the legal practice. But through the policy and the research work that we do, we can create systemic change and shape government responses. So at the moment, I'm working with Norton Rose Fulbright on developing a national compensation scheme for people who have experienced modern slavery in Australia. This would be transformational. You know, it's very exciting, you know, what we're able to do together, and we do make an incredible difference.
Well, Jen, thanks so much. This whole conversation's given me goosebumps. We're so passionate about what you're doing, and we love being a part of it. And thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you, Abby. Thanks
Thanks.
everyone.